You know, the way we handle legal documents is in the middle of this quiet but massive revolution. We're shifting from the good old paper envelope to these secure digital channels. And right at the heart of this whole thing is something called electronic registered mail. This analysis, which is based on the work of Professor Vihar Kiskinov, is going to explore what that really means for law, for business, and maybe even for our whole idea of what a home address is.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to nail down what e-registered mail actually is. Then, we'll look at a really interesting case study from Bulgaria to see how it works, or doesn't work, in the real world. After that, we'll zoom out and compare that with the different approaches being taken all across Europe. And finally, we'll peek into the future and talk about this idea of a digital wallet.
So, before we can really get into the impact of all this, we've got to be super clear on our terms. What is electronic registered mail, exactly? And more importantly, what gives it its legal teeth? Let's start with the official definition, straight from the source.
So, according to EU Regulation 910/2014, this is way more than just a simple email. Think of it as a secure, provable channel. It gives you concrete evidence that something was sent and that it was received. And here's the crucial part. It protects the data itself from being tampered with or changed in any way while it's in transit. And this right here is the game changer compared to old school paper mail. See, with a traditional registered letter, you can prove you sent an envelope, sure, but you can't prove what was actually inside it. Lawyers have been talking about this empty envelope problem for ages. Well, qualified e-registered mail completely solves this. It uses cryptography to basically seal the content itself, creating this unbreakable link between the delivery receipt and the actual message that was delivered. No more empty envelopes.
So, what's the bottom line here? The whole point of this service is to create absolute legal certainty. It proves who sent it and who got it. It guarantees the message you received is the exact same one that was sent, with zero tampering, and it puts legally binding timestamps on the whole conversation.
And this leads to a really powerful legal effect. It's called a rebuttable presumption. Now, what that means in plain English is that in court, the message is automatically assumed to be authentic and accurate. The burden of proof completely shifts. It's now up to the other side to prove that it's not valid, which is a much harder thing to do.
Okay, so the legal framework sounds great in theory, right? But putting it into practice in the real world, that's where things get tricky. And to see just how tricky, we're going to take a look at the system in Bulgaria. It's a fascinating case study of what you could call digital duality. There's a quote from the source material that just hits the nail on the head. It says that instead of creating a single unified digital space, the system has been broken up into these separate, almost competing domains. And here's what that looks like on the ground. You've got citizens, businesses, and especially lawyers who are forced to live in two completely parallel digital universes. On one hand, you have the system for dealing with the government, taxes, municipalities, that sort of thing. On the other hand, you have a totally separate system just for dealing with the courts. And the crazy part? They don't talk to each other at all. This creates a ton of inefficiency and, frankly, a lot of legal risk. And this leads to what experts call a network effect void. Think about it. A social network is only useful if your friends are on it, right? It's the same idea here. Because the system is mandatory for the government, but totally voluntary for regular citizens, you never get that critical mass of people using it. And if not enough people are using it, businesses don't have a reason to get on board, which then gives citizens even less reason to sign up. It's a vicious cycle. So if we boil it all down, the Bulgarian model is really struggling with four big structural problems. One, you've got that network effect void, not enough users. Two, there's a big discoverability problem. You can't easily find someone's official digital address. Three, you have that digital duplication we just talked about, two systems that don't communicate. And four, there's no single legally recognized digital home address for everyone. Now, Bulgaria's struggles are definitely not unique. When you look across Europe, you see that different countries have tried to solve these same problems in vastly different ways. And what's really fascinating is how it reveals these deep splits in philosophy about the role of the state versus the market and where the individual citizen fits into all of this. You can pretty much group the national strategies into three main buckets. You've got the countries that took a centralized, state-controlled approach. Then you have others that basically said, let the free market figure it out. And then there's a third group that's focused everything around creating a universal digital identity for every citizen. Take the Czech model, for example. They use this incredibly powerful legal tool called service fiction. And here's how it works.
Once an official document lands in your government-issued data box, after a certain number of days, the law considers it officially delivered and read. It doesn't matter if you ever actually opened it. As you can imagine, that creates a very strong incentive for people to actually check their digital mail. And then you have France, which is pretty much on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Instead of a powerful legal tool that forces you to participate, the French system is market-based and puts a huge emphasis on consumer protection. You actually can't send a legally binding electronic letter to a regular person unless they've given you their explicit permission beforehand. This table gives a fantastic snapshot of just how diverse the European landscape is. You can see that clear divide we talked about. You've got countries like Austria and the Czech Republic with mandatory state-run systems. Then over on the other side, you've got market-based models like in Germany and France, which are totally voluntary. And then you have a real outlier like Estonia, which took a completely different path. They built legal validity right into their mandatory national eID, so they don't even need a separate registered mail system. So that brings us to what's next. There's a new European regulation on the horizon known as eIDAS 2.0, and it's set to introduce a whole new way of thinking that might just unify all these different approaches.
The really big idea here is a fundamental shift in how we think about digital exchange. For years, we've just been sending files back and forth. A PDF of a diploma, a scan of a license. The future is about exchanging the verified data itself, the attributes. So imagine being able to prove you have a valid driver's license without ever showing anyone the physical card or a picture of it. You're just sharing the verified fact that you have one. And the technology that makes this possible is the upcoming European Digital Identity Wallet. The idea is a secure app on your phone where you can store and manage all your official digital documents and attributes, your diploma, your professional licenses, even prescriptions. This wallet becomes your single, universal point of contact for all legal and official matters. And the best part is, it's controlled entirely by you.
And this leads us to a final and pretty profound thought. This kind of technology doesn't just change how we get our mail. It fundamentally challenges our oldest concepts of legal presence and what a physical address even is. I mean, when your legally recognized identity fits securely in your pocket and can be presented anywhere in the world, what does a home address even mean anymore?